Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the West Ham Voice, the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice. Sorry I'm a little late, but I had to get rid of a whole load of stuff in order to be able to record the show. I'm sharing the platform with the Claret and Booze guys, and we've clogged it up. So there you go. Always a reason for me being late, isn't there? But not my fault tonight because I had everything set up in time. But hey, anyway, let's get on with the show. There's an awful lot to get through. All the latest transfer rumours, all the stories that are linking us with a much closer connection to Armando Broja. Yeah, or Broja, depending on which part of the world you come from. Apparently, well, I'll get on to that later, shall I? And all the other relevant transfer stories, and a little bit of update on some player news as well as the preseason setup that's happening. But first of all, before I go into the chat, I just want you all to invite you all to join our new fantasy league, the 6'2" Claret and Booze and West Ham Boys Fantasy Premier League. So if you fancy getting involved, why don't you join? There's the league code there, 7RN1AM. Join it. I won't because I always forget to update my players, and then I end up falling right at the end. But do join. No, I probably will join just for the sake of it. So if you're interested, there you go. Nice little sets you up for the season, doesn't it? It makes you realise that the season is now just not too far away. So do join. League code is there, 7RN1AM, and we hope to see you there. So, what have we got in store? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about some general news about the club, etc. We're going to talk a very brief review on the match. Like I said, some player updates, and then of course we'll go into our transfer news of the past week or so. So why don't we get on with it and get into the main bit of the show. So I'm sure it's eased everybody's minds to see that Declan Rice was back training in a West Ham shirt. Of course, in a West Ham training kit, rather than all this speculation that he's off to Chelsea and all that crap. He's back. The whole squad is back now together after all the international players have had their extended breaks, and it's great. They were all at Rush Green today after the game that they played over the weekend against Servette, and the first time that they've all trained together. Declan was back. Thomas Socek was back, and various other players. So it was good to see. And now the season does actually really feel like it's getting closer and closer, doesn't it? The fact that all the players are back, that they're training. I don't know how many of the players who were on international duty we'll see at the games that are coming up tomorrow, but it'll be good. I'm sure they'll get a bit of game time at least. And David Moyes did an interview last week, didn't he? He talked about look at that, doesn't he look cool in those glasses, eh? He did an interview. He talked about West Ham. He talked about the transfer market. And as per usual, you get nothing out of David Moyes. He talked about the transfer market, but you didn't really get any indication as to who he's after, who he's going to get, etc., etc. He talked about the scouting network that working hard. He even upset his wife apparently on holiday because he was constantly on the phone trying to sort deals out, etc. So despite the fact that we all think, wow, nothing's happening. I mean, up until the third signing last week, we all sort of started to get a bit edgy again, didn't we? We had our first signing 3 weeks ago. We had our second signing 2 weeks ago. And then we thought, well, next Monday or last Monday, we were going to get a third signing. That didn't happen. We all started to get a bit jittery. But Moyes has said they're working hard. The scouting system himself, they're working hard to improve the squad, to bring players in, etc. And that's good to hear. But what will happen if, let's just say, we don't sign any other players, or let's say we don't get near signing as many other players as we believe we need? Still think we need at least another 3 or 4. But what would happen if these players were to stay? Would you guys be happy if that was the case? If we didn't get rid of Diop, and I'm going to talk about Diop in a minute and Fulham, etc. But if we didn't get rid of him, if we didn't get rid of Socek, if Vlasic stayed, if Ben Rama was, put an arm around him and encouraged him to do better, would it be so bad with the players that we've already bought to actually keep these four players and go again next season? you know the Europa Conference League is probably not going to be as demanding in the early stages, or maybe even in the group stages, as what we thought the Europa League would be. So we've only got to focus on the Premier League and in cup competitions and stuff like that. Could we get till the January transfer window before we decided to bring any more players in? Would you be happy with that? You know, all these players have got decent attributes, haven't they? Diop, when he was called upon during the season, didn't do that bad. Socek, okay, he had a poor season last season, but you don't go from being a hammer of the year to being a shit player, overnight. He needed a rest, and maybe with the rest that he's had during over the last month or so, that might be the rejuvenation he needs. Um, ben Rama. Ben Rama, third best player in terms of attacking stats last season. Could he not improve another season, Premier League season under his belt? And what about Vlasic? If Vlasic was only played in his rightful position, what about him? Would he be able to bring us something more than what he offered last season? I don't know. It's all speculation, isn't it? But it's what Moyes did talk about. He did talk about the players that got away. He talked again about Calvin Phillips and the unsuccessful £50 million bid that we put in last January, and he kind of I think he was a little bit bemused at the fact that Phillips went to Man City for less money. But then again, apparently from what we understand, Phillips said to Leeds that he would only leave Leeds United if he was going to a club like Man City or Man City itself. So, would it have mattered if we bid even more money? Would Phillips have decided to come? I guess what it does show is that David Moyes means what he says when it comes to the type of players that he wants to bring into the club. He talks about improving the squad, I know I even said it myself back in January. These weren't the right sort of players to try and go for in January. We just needed that bit more solidity and depth, and bringing on a player that could give one or two of our other players a bit of a respite every now and again. And let's focus on these big players, on these high value players in the summertime. It's really interesting that this summer we don't seem to be, all this speculation about all the players that we're in for. I think Rafinha was early in the transfer window that apparently we were still wanted, but all these other players are 20, 30 million pound players that we seem to be going for. So what's happened with that mantra? But look, and I did a show a few weeks ago talking about the targets that David Moyes was apparently interested in, Calvin Phillips being one. He affirmed it again. He said it himself, that we did make a bid for him. But we believe that he's interested in players like Ward-Prowse. We believe he's interested in players like Ollie Watkins. Great. But are they, I go back to asking what I asked a few weeks ago. Are they realistic targets? Are they really the sort of players that want to come to West Ham? With regards to Ward-Prowse, he's happy. He's content. He doesn't seem to be want to leave Southampton. I said it in my show, I think it was last week, where Ward-Prowse is quite settled. He's got a young family. He doesn't want to go anywhere else apart from playing for Southampton. And then Aston Villa, they're building a squad. They're looking like they're going for it this season. They're not going to allow Ollie Watkins to leave. And if they did, it would be for a sizable amount of money. But what we got to do is laud the players that we did sign. And look at this talent. I mean, the best passer, the best pass success rate, I think, of all the leagues in English football. Flynn Downes. I mean, a few weeks ago, no one heard of him, or you might have done, but no one really gave him much thought. And then all of a sudden, he's come to West Ham United, and we're all, the fact that he's a West Ham boy through and through seems to suggest to us that Moyes is going about his business in the right way, and he is bringing improvements to the squad. They may not be immediate improvements. I consider Downes, he'll play, he'll get game time without a shadow of a doubt. But I think he'll be like David Moyes does. He'll ease him in, won't he? He'll take his time in on player, and he'll put him on when he thinks the time is right. So I'm pleased with what we've done so far, to be quite honest with you. And then we look at other links, and then the question is asked, are these improvements? Are these players like Clivert, and I'm going to talk about Clivert later, um, um, Ellis and Bio, are they better players than what we've got? I don't know. When you look at the players that we have got, we've signed Aguerd, one of the best defenders in the French league last season. We've signed Areola. Okay, he was with us last season, but he's now with us permanently, and he's got one of the best one of the best clean sheet rates amongst keepers, I think, around the world. He's got nearly something like, what was it that I said last week, 45% or something ridiculous, which is an amazing clean sheet success rate. And then, as I've just said, we've got the best passer in English football that's come to us, this young lad Downes. So all in all, Moyes is looking at players that he believes are going to improve us. A really good defender, a fantastic goalkeeper, an up and coming midfielder, and when you sort of look at the players that we keep being linked to, like I said, I'm going to talk about Cliver later, Arthur Ellis, Mohamed Bio, I'm sure they're good players, but then all of a sudden you start looking at players like this and you see the quality. I think Moyes, yeah, hats off to him, all credit to him. He's when he's talking about bringing in improvements, they don't, as we've always said in the past, they don't always have to cost you the earth. I mean, those three there have cost us a combined 50-ish million pounds so far. And many people are talking about, the club won't spend money, etc., etc. They're too tight-fisted. Three players, 50 million pounds. And from what we understand, Moyes has said there's more to go. He did temper it a little bit. If you read through that interview, kind of, we try, and I kind of got shades of what he said last January. We'll try. Can't guarantee anything. He stopped short of saying we can't guarantee anything anymore. But the good thing is that we are going for players, and I hope that's kind of resting. It's kind of easing people's anxieties. I think when we signed the third player, I think the anxieties just started to fade a little bit. We've got a long way to go in the transfer market, and I think there's more to come yet. But like I said, I'll talk about transfers later on. Mark Warburton, he's made an immediate impact at the team. He's already taken on coaching sessions, as you expect him to do so. He's had an immediate impact. Look, very respected figure, well liked within the game. He's taken up this role considering he's been a manager for a number of years, okay, of championship teams, etc. But he could have easily walked into another championship team to be their manager. But he decided to have a go at the Premier League, albeit as an assistant manager, but he's already making an impact. David Moyes said each assistant coach brings their own attributes, their own abilities to the table. And what Warburton's bringing is a more attacking style. Now, the other thing I read about what Warburton said in his interview is he said there's a democratic process at West Ham United, which he really likes. And then I don't know if he cheekily said it, but he said the ultimate decision is the boss's. So, look, I'm being a bit facetious because where I'm going to on this is people speculated about Stuart Pearce leaving West Ham and saying, oh, probably it's because he was not heard. Alan Irvine left the season before that, and maybe these coaches are not being listened to. They're not being heard. Their voices aren't being heard. And it's interesting. Warburton, the first thing he said was, there's a democratic process. We all sit down and discuss, ways forward, etc., etc. So my thinking is, if he's taken over some more of the attacking style training sessions, then what's going to happen during a game? Like we all know, Moyes. One of the criticisms that we give Moyes is he usually doesn't bring substitutes on at a good time. He waits until the 83rd minute and all that sort of stuff, or he waits until we go 2 goals down before he brings on an attacking sub, etc., etc. Will Warburton influence that and get Moyes to sort of change his game quicker, faster, differently, more attacking? It's going to be interesting. I think we're going to be in for an interesting ride in next season with Warburton. Let's see how Warburton feels at the end of this coming season and whether his voice has been heard. Again, look, ultimately, whatever happens, it's the manager's decision at the end of the day. It's the manager that makes the decision as to how we play, our style, etc. But the input of the assistant coaches, the input of these backup assistants, is to actually give Moyes advice, is to recommend and that are possible different ways of playing. We'll see. I guess we'll see. Right, next thing up, safe standing. I talked about it last week. I've talked about it quite a few times. Apparently, the Premier League, not the Premier League, apparently the government have or are about to rubber stamp approval for safe standing to start again next season. Now, look, I know the government have got a few other things on their minds, like getting a decent prime minister in and stuff like that. And I'm sure culture secretary, is she still culture secretary or did she resign? Nadine Dorris is probably, I think she's going for being a conservative leader as well, isn't she? But she said before she resigned that there was a good, robust trial for safe standing, and it will return. And what we understand is it should be signed off to return before the new season starts. Now, look, for those of you who are in the Bobby Moore lower, we've been standing all every year we've been there, so it doesn't make much difference to us. But there is safe standing in other parts of the stadium, and it's understood that quite possibly the new West Stand that's being built at the moment may also have a little bit of standing as well. But we'll see. But great news, I think. I think if that builds for a better atmosphere, make the whole stadium standing, for goodness sake. If people want to sit, put them up in the top so they can't miss anything. Anyway, let's go on to another thing. Gambling. Again, I talked about this last week, where I suggested that the government sort of pulled out of really making a decision about gambling for Premier League football teams. They kind of didn't go as far as to suggest that it should be banned. However, the Premier League has suggested that they're going to approach or have approached Premier League clubs to ask them if they want to voluntarily end their gambling sponsorship. Now, look, West Ham United have got about 2 years left. I think 24-25 season is when the Betway deal finishes. It's worth £10 million a year to West Ham United. I quite kind of I suggested last week that I thought the government had sort of like shirked their responsibility a bit. But I kind of like the fact that the Premier League are trying to make a stand. It's only voluntary, so why not? Why not look for a more creditable sponsor if there is such a thing on our shirts? Right. That's the first bit of the show. Let's see who's in the chat because I usually go there first and I didn't do so tonight. So I'm going to scroll all the way back up and get peed off when I say that the chat's jumped, but I'll go all the way to the top. It hasn't gone all the way to the top, so I do apologise. Jordan, good evening to you, mate. Hey, Star, I can't wait for tonight's show. Thank you very much. Sorry to ask straight away, but please could you give me my awful channel a shout out? I'm bringing out the first Friday night quiz. What is it? What's it called? Tell me what it's called, and I'll more than happily promote it for you. Oh, so would you consider doing match watcher? I don't know. I don't know. I'm usually at the match rather than I watch at the match, but I can't record there. So probably not. But what I will try and do is I will try and do some previews and some reviews. How about that? Halfway house. I don't hate the hot weather. Good evening to you, Dabs. It's fucking marvellous. Mind you, I am sweating in this, to be quite honest with you. Jordan again. Dabs, I always prefer don't moan. It's nice and hot and wonderful. Good evening, carp fishing and bait CFB. How are you? And thank you for joining. Good evening, Andrew. All we need is a bit of faith. Loads of faith. Good evening, Daniela. How are you? Hot evening it is. What has Uncle Stoll got planned? Well, I hope you're enjoying it so far. Drinks, because I was trying to sort out getting on. I haven't got a drink, so I might have to ask my better half to bring me something. Good evening, disabled team. How are you? It looks like you've got young Perkins by the sounds of it. Good luck to him and good luck to you. I hope you're well. Steve WHU, how are you, mate? Nice cold cider is helping, bastards. Daniela again. So the rest of the squad returned today, looked happy and back. They did. Absolutely. They did look wonderfully happy and bouncing. Good evening, Mr. Tiley. Been relaxing with a nice cold beer and listening to Paul Harcourt. Wow, that's going back in time. Good evening, Andy. How are you? A touch of the warm side tonight. I hope everyone's nice. Fucking, you're all talking about cold drinks. And here I am sitting here sweating my gonads off. And Daniela's talking about ice cream as well. Good evening, Martin. How are you? I was late. I'm going to blame the Claret and Booze boys for not getting rid of all their stuff so I can record the show tonight. I'm here. What else have we got? Who else have we got in? Oops, excuse me. Let's scroll down a bit and see who else is in. Good evening, Aaron. How are you, mate? Good evening, Martin. Nice of you to join. Good evening, Mr. Perry. I have to be at work in 12 hours. Cheeky kids. Well, who else we got here? Stell needs to buy a watch. The missus bought it for me. I still can't take the time, read the time properly. I think the cat's eating the mouse, Daniela, and still can't get the. See, Daniela, you got half of it right. So there you go. Good evening, Mr. Bong. How are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining as well. Good evening, Pash Beats. Still don't know where. I'm going to find out, aren't I, on Saturday who the fuck you are, Pash Beats. Evening, all travelling home to Chelmsford on a sweaty. Chelmsford. Which one of you lives in Chelmsford? With no aircon, it's horrible, but nice to see Rice is back and embracing our new signing, Flynn Downes. Absolutely wonderful, isn't it? Disabled team styles probably got doing asleep on the sun lounger. I'm going to talk about Lanzini in a minute, mate. Peter, still open the new channel. I've got to. All right, all right. I'll give you all a laugh, don't I? Good evening, Darren. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining. Good evening, Henry. How are you? Thank you. Much appreciated. Good evening to you, Adam. Evening, everyone. Good evening, Howard. How are you? Much appreciated for all of you to join on this hot night. I hope you're not sitting under bloody lights the way I am, sweating my gonads off. Who else have we got on here? Let's scroll down a bit. There was a comment from Damien. Is there a Damien here? Good evening, Mr. Dennis. How are you? I probably will, but I'm crap at doing fantasy league. I keep forgetting to update my teams, etc. And it really is annoying. Good evening, Damien. Thank you for joining, mate. Good evening. Learn to dig Pitts. I love the name. I don't know why you got that name, but I love it anyway. I hope you're well, mate. Good evening, Carino. How are you? Nice of you to join as well. Who else have we got in the chat? Mandy, you're early again. Wow, bloody hell. What's going on here? You know, almost going to turn up before I did. Well, no, you did turn up before I did. Learn to dig. Broja, not a significant improvement on Haller. I did see your comment. I will reply to that on one of the other videos. Most objective measurements will demonstrate such. I would agree with you. If Haller was still at West Ham United, I'd be inclined to absolutely agree. I think Haller is a much better striker, but maybe if I can give anything to Broja, he's still young, he's still learning, but yeah. But the thing is, Haller's not here anymore. So Broja is a significant improvement because we actually don't have a striker. So, I still don't count Antonio as a striker. He's still makeshift as far as I'm concerned. Schmiegel, I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining as well. Andrew, I still think we need a deeper squad unless we use the kids. I agree with you there. I will do it in a show later on this week where I'll put the squad up again. It's beginning to fill out, but there are still gaps. There are definitely a few gaps. Daniela, the disabled team, I'm fab. Everyone's saying hello to each other. That's lovely. Martin, player continuity with a few new signings is a good thing. I agree. It's. I think I've said it a few times before using Nigel Khan's mantra. It's not about revolution; it's about evolution. And evolution is about bringing a few players in and keeping the core of the team. If we do end up bringing 5, 6, 7 players in, that's quite a lot of players to put in, to be honest with you. And that can actually be quite disrupted. So I just wonder how many of the current players will leave. I wonder. I mean, there's talk about Diop going, etc., etc. I just wonder. It probably won't surprise me, to be honest with you, if we don't lose as many players as we think. I know we've lost 4. We talked about them before. Actually, we've lost 5, haven't we, with Kral going as well. But as I said, I think last week and a few weeks ago as well, of the 5 players that we lost, at least 3 weren't really playing regular football. So of the 5, you could argue that we lost really 2 players, and we needed another, to fill a midfield role to make it 3. So I wonder if many more will leave, to be honest with you. Learn to dig. Vlasic has more to give. Benny will never be a team leader, regardless of last season's apparent presentable stats. He's just, yeah, I get that. I understand that. I still think, to be really honest with you, he's still got a bit more to offer. I just wonder, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Howard, if we use 4 or 5 under 23 players and see how it goes till Crimbo, I'd be up for blooding youth. But this is it. We don't know, do we? And I'm going to talk about the youngsters in a minute, to be honest with you. We tried, no suitable strikers available with what he says when the window closes. I really hope not. But I'll tell you what, Peter, it will absolutely not surprise me one bit if we don't sign a striker. it won't surprise me one bit. Probably what will happen is Moyes might buy another couple of attacking wing players, wingers, and maybe start mixing it up. And as I said, maybe Bowen is going to be his new project to be the next striker. It will not surprise me in the least if that happens. But let's see who we got coming in. Good evening to you, John. I hope you're well. Was it Paul Merson or Lee Dixon saying in an interview last week that JWP should come to West Ham? I think it was Merson, but then Merson also said that Declan should go to Man United or something like that. So let's not listen to him. Good evening, Julie. Hope you're well, and hope your your hand is getting better. Good to hear that it's on the mend. Adam, all signings from the French league will be a risk if their midfield or striker is a step up. Always a risk. Well, would they be? I don't know. But any signing's a risk. Huge. Good evening to you. I'm not happy with the window so far. Not to sign Bissouma from Brighton and him going to Spurs is a joke. I do agree with you on that. I think Bissouma's a decent player, very decent player. But it was suggested, and as you just now pointed out, it was suggested that Moyes didn't go for Bissouma because he went for Flynn Downes. I agree with you. I would I would have loved to have had Bissouma to play at West Ham United. It's odd. It's an odd one, but there you go. Peter, Warburton went up to every person in the club and said, "Oh dear, the jokes are starting early." Andrew, I was at school with Mark Warburton. He always worked hard. Is that true? Wow. Oh, guess what's happened? Yeah, the chat's jumped. Were you really at school with him? Good evening, Gads. Just use the running track for safe standing. Worried about blocking the view? Warburton only came for the dough. God, you're early with the jokes. Good evening to you, Trini. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Robert. He's the best. Oh, dear. Good evening, Chris. How are you? Thanks for joining. Good evening, Devon. I hope you're well too. Good evening, Tony. How are you, mate? Just bought a season ticket. 1,500 quid. What? Bloody hell, you're in the posh seats, mate. You see, season tickets don't go to that price, do they? Wow. Where are you sitting? Good evening, Jordan. How are you? Thank you for joining. Good evening, Dom. Thank you for joining, mate. Good evening to you, young Finn. I hope you're well. Nice of you to join. Haven't seen you for a few weeks, so I hope all's good with you. Aaron, they look happy to be back. They absolutely did. They absolutely did. NWO, good evening to you, mate. Flynn Downes sounds like a BBC period. Yeah, it does actually. Yeah. Steve, Stell, did you curp me? No. Curp me. I ain't got a clue what that means, mate. I'm sure. No, I didn't. No, I don't think I did curb you because I'm not sure what it means. Um, Huge. Hilaire can run, but Hilaire can run, but won't run. But he does score goal. He won't run, and he does score goals. Yeah, let's forget about Hilaire. It took me a whole season to get over that. What do I think about Onana? Quite a hefty price tag. Yeah, talk about him later on. Good evening, Ballon. How are you? Good evening to you, Brendan Doe. Sheringham couldn't run, but was an amazing striker. Hilaire was banging them in for fun at Ajax. He absolutely was. I'm gutted that Hilaire left, and I think I made it very clear quite a few times that I think we should have kept him on. Anyway, that's in the past. Daniel, good evening to you. Hopefully we get a decent left forward. We can then play Benny, Vlasic in their correct positions and watch them improve. You see, that's my thinking, I think we can probably get more out of these players. Who knows? Let's see. Crazy Cole, how are you? I haven't seen you for a while. Did you see the Depeche Mode thing on Friday night on BBC 4? That was pretty good. Teams are starting to buy wingers and strikers. There you go. Exactly. Good evening, 4-0 England. They kicked off. They only just kicked off as I was setting up. Are they really up 4-0? Chris, see Broja coming still. Hasn't travelled with Chelsea. Let me talk about that later, Chris. Absolutely. And from what I've been told, we have got terms agreed with the player and with the agent. And I hope I'm not being lied to. Good evening to you, Stuart Jenkins. Hilaire didn't even want to be at West Ham. He got late. Did he not? Did he not? I don't know. Learn to dig. I'm very happy. I mean, it's a good point, Stuart. I'm not so sure I agree. I think Hilaire, I think Moyes just didn't fancy Hilaire. Hilaire knew it. And yeah, of course, when you know that you're not going to be part of that setup and you're the only striker, because as I repeat, Antonio was only a backup. When you're the only striker and you're not getting game time, your time's up. So, a bit of 50-50 there. Learn to dig. I'm very happy with the record goals and 2 Euro campaigns since he left. Still happy hammer. Are you talking about Alette? Who are you talking about? Record goals, 2 Euros campaigns. Who are you talking about? I'm sorry. Gary, Basuma should sign for West Ham, and also I broke my finger playing football. I hope it gets better, Gary, and he absolutely should have signed for West Ham, but unfortunately not. Who's the mod? Prohibitive. I don't know who's in the background. Because I don't think she's on. So I don't think there is any mod at the moment. Daniel, I also think we only have around 50 million left, and this is causing headaches. Moyes is unsure how to spend it. He wanted Lewis Potter, but needs a striker. Okay, a quick one about Lewis Potter. The understanding with regards to Lewis Potter is he wanted guarantee of game time. And David Moyes apparently couldn't guarantee game time, which is why Potter then looked for Brentford. He's not going to Brentford at the moment, so maybe there's a possibility that we might be in for him. Reese, good evening to you. How are you? I haven't seen you for a while. Good evening, Black Country. I'm late. You're not. You put that comment in at 8:30. I went on at 10 past, mate. So I hope you're well. Oh yes, sorry, Steve. Yes, I do understand. Yeah, let me get round to it. I hope your finger gets better. Gary, I really do. Let's scroll down. I'll tell you what, let's stop there and let's go into the next part of the show. So, our first preseason was kicked off last week, didn't it? And the team news, I mean, let's not expect much or read too much into it, as I was trying to do during the game. Let's go back up a bit. Excuse me for 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Don't expect too much into it. The players that we're playing. We had a number of players missing, of course, as I said, because they had extended breaks because of international duty, etc. But we played Servette, and this was a starting lineup. Fabianski. We had a number of youngsters. Ashby, Alese, Coventry was in the starting lineup, and then of course at half time, quite a few. I think we ended up with all under 23s players by the end of the game. But it was good to see. It was good to see a mixture of players in there. And Ashby, I think a lot of people said he played really, really well. Alese, I like him. I think he was decent in defence. Connor Coventry was a bit quiet, but sort of like he didn't do, wasn't tested too much. But look, we did okay. It was a run out. Some players did decently. I think, like I said, Ashby did okay. I think Fornals was okay, etc., etc. But what do we expect at early doors? There was nothing really to sort of like shout home about and say, wow, this player or that player were good. There was one player, though, who came on in the second half who scored a goal, and that was David Moyes. Now, whoever watches my shows on a regular basis will know I've been waxing lyrical about David Moyes for a long, long time. I did a piece on him, I think last year when he signed his professional contract, looked at his background, etc. There was a video that I sort of gave you all a link to watch his interview. He was really, really sort of like quite a humble young man. Talked about football in a very in a good way, in a very knowledgeable way. Talked about his ambitions, etc. And I'm really glad he's one of the very few under 18s that has gone away pre-season with the senior squad, and I'm really, really pleased, and I hope he stays with them, because usually Moyes will take some under 18s, under 23s, and then when all the other players are back, some of the under 18s and maybe even some of the under 23s, they go to their respective squads and continue their pre-season with them. I hope David Mbama stays with the senior squad, and then we will all be asking, Sonny who? Sonny Perkins. When you look at the stats of this young man compared to Perkins, etc., this guy stands head and shoulders above him. And I'm not kidding. And I know you're all going to say, yes, but it's only under 18s football. Yes, but it's under 23s football, doesn't matter. If you show some ability, you're going to be noticed. And he has been noticed. And I'm really pleased for him. I'm quite excited. I'm not going to say that he's going to, go into the senior squad straight away. He'll probably be a long slog. He may go out on loan, just like a number of other players may go out on loan. But he scored. He was there. He scored our second goal. Nice little back heel into the net. If anyone has watched the game or watched the highlights, and it was good, and I was really pleased. And he excites me. Sonny Perkins. I said he looked all right, Sonny Perkins, but I thought he was a bit lightweight. David Mbama is decent. Watch out for him. That number 5 there, by the way, is Pierre Ekwa, another outcast from the Chelsea youth system. He's also another player to watch out for, and I hope it happens for them. It may not happen straight away, but these are the players that we ought to be looking at for our future. And someone just said, if we can use a few under 23s to fill out the squad, he'd be happy. Why not? Why not? Right. Our next games coming up are tomorrow evening. If you're watching this on Monday, then the next game. Sorry, I didn't talk about the game that much. I was kind of like, it was all right, but no great shakes. So Portman Rope, as you can see there, Portman Road tomorrow, and Boreham Wood. Other games tomorrow: Ipswich against West Ham, Boreham Wood against West Ham. As David Moyes has become accustomed to doing, he splits the squad into two. One team goes up to one game, another team goes to another. Of course, we're all going to be looking at it and speculating, why is that player in that squad and why is this player in that squad, and trying to make out, oh yeah, well, it looks like he's got none of that. Basically, David Moyes has gone, how many right backs have I got? How many left backs have I got? Right, you go here, you go there, and that's it. There's no rhyme or reason. There may be some rhyme or reason to it, but I think I tried to work it out last pre-season and I got it all wrong. And I got really excited because there were certain under 23s that were playing with the senior players, and I thought, this is it. They're going to break through, and they didn't. So anyway, the next game is going to be on Tuesday night, both at 7 p.m. I'll give you a little bit of a rundown, maybe on Wednesday, about the game. And looking at our fixtures, well, it was obvious, wasn't it? Every single fixture for August and September, I believe, has been changed. We haven't got one effing Saturday game coming up. And that is, I won't lie, I'm pissed by that. It's really, really irritating. I think we've got a whole string of Sunday games. So we start our season off on Sunday, the 7th of August against Man City. What time is it? The 2 p.m. I think it's 2 p.m. kickoff. No, 4:30 p.m. kickoff. My mistake. And then, of course, we got Nottingham Forest the following Sunday away. Then we host Brighton on Sunday, the 21st at 2 p.m. And then we're away to Aston Villa on Sunday at 2 p.m. And then we got a midweek game to end August against Spurs. That'd be good. Under the lights, midweek game. That's the sort of game that we all love, isn't it? Under the lights against an enemy like Spurs, and we're going to smash the. Anyway, let's move on. In September, and the first few games in September have all been moved as well. In September, Sunday, the 4th of September, against away to Chelsea. Then Sunday, the 11th of September, at home to Newcastle. And then we got a Saturday game, which is going to be moved because of Europa Conference League. So there you go. Those are the fixture changes. It's we're going to have to get used to it, aren't we? Especially conference. I'm sure we'll get through and play in the group stages of the Europa Conference. It's irritating. It's frustrating. I'd much rather, I think I said it last season, I'd much rather than put on Saturday evening games, at 7 o'clock or something like that, or kind of later on a Sunday. Don't play them during the 2 o'clock and 12:30 kickoffs on Sundays. I hate that. There's no atmosphere, and it really doesn't. When we have a 12:30 kickoff, I think it's worse. 2 o'clock, at least you can get a little bit pissed and watch that game. But why don't they just go for even later games on a Sunday? I think we'd all be happier for that. Oh well, okay. Let's move on to the academy, shall we? No, let's not do that for a minute. I'm just going to go into the chat and see what you guys have to say. So I think I've said this, but Daniel, I think we only he's looked at Lewis Potter. I think we might still be in with a shout. Aaron, terms agreed. Don't keep us waiting. Spill the beans. Well, that's it, really. My understanding is, from what I've been told, that the terms have been agreed with the player and the agent. We're just now waiting for West Ham and Chelsea to agree a fee. There you go. There goes the next part of my show. I see we have been linked to another left back, PSG, Lavin. Yeah, he was linked to us about, I think, whilst Pellegrini was here, and I think he's coming to the end of his contract. And no, I don't think that's a serious link, to be honest with you. Lavin, I can't remember, his name is something like that. Huge. Don't understand why we're going after Brogan. Brogan. Who's Brogan? Last season, played 32 Premier League games, only scored 6 goals. Someone tell me why. You've lost me. I don't know who you mean. Brogan. Sharky, sounds like Sean Mustane's been lying to you. Well, who knows? Who knows? Steve, huge, but he played in a poor Saints team. He would have scored more goals with us. Oh, okay. Why doesn't that name just sort of come off the top of my head? I don't know. Right. Chris, Alaire came to Pellegrini. Let me do this one. Alaire came for Pellegrini and left because the project that he agreed to was no longer on the table. Moyes won't play 2, let alone 3 strike. Good point. Good point. I'm not going to do any more Hilaire comments. I do apologise. Trodge, did Mumbama? He did actually score. Looked like the defender kicked it in. I think he backheeled it, and it may have clipped the defender on the way, didn't it? Backheel. There you go. Howard said. Are they really winning 6-0? Who are they playing? The tea ladies. Robert. Does Ogbonna not getting a game or minutes worry you? No, because he's still he's still probably, he'll be doing training, etc. But not at all. He doesn't. It doesn't worry me at all that he's not getting any game time as yet. I think that will happen. Don't forget, he's come back from a very, very bad injury, so it'll take time. Pegad Servette were unlucky, hit the bar like 20 times. Yeah, I missed all that. Good evening to you, Paul. I'm on holiday in Charente region of a very sunny France. Looking forward to August 7th now. I hope you're enjoying yourself, mate. And thank you for tuning in for all the way from France. Chris, I thought a few of the youngsters looked a little bit uncoordinated at times. The Laces started slowly but progressed into the game. Commentary was tidy, in my opinion. Yeah, but don't expect too much for pre-season. It's a kick around. Good evening, Connor. How are you, mate? Would be good for Ashby, Longello, Elise, Ocoflex, etc. to get Championship, Belgium League, or Eredivisie to get some good game time. That's true. Mipo was there. He didn't play, but Odobeko was there as well. He's been in training with the squad. Trodge. Mubama has an infectious grin. He does. He's going to be fantastic. Good evening, Mr. Will. Happy birthday to you, mate. I hope you're well. I hope you're having an enjoyable day. Was it today, your birthday? Happy birthday to you, Andrew. Game was live on West Ham TV. It was on YouTube as well. And I think they'll be showing a few other games as well. Schmeigel, Ekwa looks promising. He does. Look out for him as well. Connor, we need to begin getting better loans for our youngsters like Brian. I agree with that. Yeah, get them in teams that are decent. I totally and utterly agree. Get them in teams that give them some decent game time. Learn to dig for Sonny Perkins. Yeah, I said that exactly that. Learn to dig. Exactly that. Benicio, Ngakia, even to a point, Reece Oxford. All of them thought that they were going to better and bigger teams, etc. And not many of them really succeeded. Victor, is it right there? There's no under 23 season. It'll be under 21s. Not as far as I'm aware. I think there will be an under 23s. I think I've seen details about their fixtures, etc. Julie, great if you work Sundays. There you go. Yeah, it is a piss take. I hate that. I hate the fact that we have to play all our games, virtually all our games, in the first part of the season on Sundays. It's awful. Ballon, let's remember our under 23s are not the class of 92. If one of them gets into the first team squad, that's a success. If some are sold into the lower leagues, that's also a success. You know what? And I get you. I agree with you. I think a lot of people go, oh, all the under 23s play them all. Can't. Getting. If you think about it, in the last 4 seasons, we've had 2 under 23 players break through, Declan and Johnson. That's not bad. That's not bad. I know other teams break more through, but that's not too bad. Learn to dig. The haters would slag Antonio as some type of twisted revenge on Moyes, just like last season stuff. I don't hate him, not at all. I just don't think he's a striker, to be honest with you. He doesn't play his game as a natural striker, and that's what I mean. Look, let's be honest. He is a fantastic servant for West Ham United, but we need Strikers who know how to run into striker positions. What Antonio tends to do, as we all know, he goes out wide, he gets the ball. He loves crossing the ball in to someone that's not there because he should be there. That's not his fault. That's not his fault. That's Moyes not having got another striker since. Allaire left. Got the conference draw at 2 on Monday 18th to see who we play. Got the on Monday the 18th. Then you know what I'm going to do? I'll do a show on that. I'll take an extended lunch or I'll take a late lunch and I'll do that. I'll do that show. Finai, Broja News, said it. I'll say it again. I'll say it again later, mate. So then it should be a quick and easy transfer. Watch this space, Aaron. Andrew, watched OK Flex in the last game, held onto the ball too long on quite a few occasions. With Moyes watching on, don't think that helped his cause. Hopefully better in the next game. I agree with you. I've been waxing lyrical about him as well. How many times am I going to get it wrong? And unfortunately, he did hold on to the ball a bit too long. And that's what he was he was accused of being a little bit greedy for the under-23s. But then when you're scoring and setting up goals, be greedy. Martin, Sunday night football would be good. It would be, wouldn't it? I'm not talking about 8 o'clock at night. I'm talking about maybe putting a 5 o'clock kickoff or a 6 o'clock kickoff. So late enough for it to be decent and early enough for people to be able to get home. Henry, Europa was on Tuesday and Wednesday about 6 years ago, so they could have games on Saturday. Wish it didn't change. There you go. Unfortunately, it does change and it does hinder a lot of people. Scarborough Hammer, good evening to you. High hopes from Obama. A talent. His goal record for the youth is outrageous. City wanted him for a long time. Yeah, I think when I read up about him last year, I don't know if this is right, but he had one season where I don't know what it was, the under 15s or something, where he scored something like 45 goals and that promoted him to the under 18s. That's incredible. I think it was just before lockdown. So if he's 17 now, 3 years, so it must have been under 14s, under 15s, something like that. Daniel, Ben Johnson got handed number 2 today. Is that really? Well, that's breaking news. I didn't know that. That's fantastic. I'm really pleased for him. I actually really, really am. First choice right back. I think he will eventually be first choice. I think we've got 2 good right backs there. Oh, that is fantastic news. That is good. Reese, Antonio should play on the left wing. He keeps running left. If you look at his heat map, he does keep running left. You're absolutely right, Reese. I don't know. Mandy, he loves crossing the ball to someone that's not there. Well, you know what I mean. Because you want your striker to be in the middle in the 18-yard box, and it's not his fault. But he gets the ball. He's a great crosser of the ball with both feet, and yet no one there. Mandy, I'm amazed how poor Benny is at crossing. Yeah. But should a player with this flair, he does other things, doesn't he? Chris, sorry, don't talk about anything deep and meaningful still. I'm off to brush my teeth. All right, mate. I won't. You hurry up. Daniela, much better to have an evening show on the 18th. Some of us may not be able to attend afternoon show. Much better to have an evening show on the 18th. Okay. Well, that's normally the Monday, the West Ham Weekly anyway. So I don't know. I'll see what I can wangle. I'll do 2 shows. Why not? Why not do 2? Moaning about a double figure striker 3 years ago in a row. We have an entitlement within our midst and to say we have an entitlement. Look, but I think the reason why people keep talking about it is because we haven't replaced him. That's the problem. Dabs, on Jonathan's training shirt, it had number 2 on it. That's fantastic. Scarborough Hammer. Imagine Broja in the middle on the end of those crosses. Exactly. Let's hope, we can only but dream. Let's go into the next part of the show because I've caught up with the chat. How have I done that? So, obviously, the news of last week was evident, wasn't it? That we signed this young lad, Flynn Downes, our 3rd summer signing of the summer. Our third summer signing of the summer. You know what I mean. 5-year deal. I mean, you've heard all this already. 5-year deal, an option of an additional year, a reported fee of £9 million, roughly about £3 million add-ons. And I laughed. Shall I tell you why I laughed? Because none of the ITKs knew about it. But now all of a sudden, all the ITKs are claiming, of course they are, that they did know about it, and there was this and that and the other, and they couldn't report on it. Fuck off. This is how business should be done. Business should be done under with no glitz, no glamour, no shouting about it, no screaming on social media, etc., etc. And that's how our business should be done. Which means that it won't surprise me one bit if we have another signing coming through that many of us will go, who, when, why, what happened there? That's how I like it. It reminds me of the old days when as many people say, the only time I want to know about transfers is when the player's wearing the shirt. And Flynn Downes, the way the business was done, I think was fantastic. Look, apparently we reported to have beat other teams, Premier League teams. Quite clear that Crystal Palace, apparently the call went in. There was a reporter there at Crystal Palace, and the call came in that West Ham were bidding for the player, etc., which Patrick Vieira wasn't happy about. But you know what? The minute, and even Down said, even if Real Madrid had come in for me, the minute I heard about West Ham, that was it. I weren't going anywhere else. That's passion, isn't it? That's commitment. That's passion. I'm really excited about this player. I won't lie to you. I won't lie to you. Did I know much about him before I heard that he was signing for West Ham? No, I'm sure many of us fans didn't know much about him. But since then, looking at his details, looking at his stats, looking at his background, etc., how influential he's been at all the clubs that he's played at. I think this is yeah, it's really good for West Ham United. He's 23 years of age, born in Brentwood, Essex. He's played. He was a youth team at Ongar Town before signing for Ipswich Town in 2006. He spent 11 years at Ipswich Town, developed through the youth ranks, made his professional debut in 2017. He went on loan in 2018 to briefly for half a season to Luton. Came back, forged his career at Ipswich, made 99 appearances in total. Don't get too hung up about the goals, only 3 goals, 4 assists. He's a defensive midfielder. That's where his strengths are. And he's a very good defensive midfielder at that. After he heard that a club came in for 2 bids were made for him a couple of years ago, which at the time Ipswich Town turned down. But that rocked the young lad a little bit, and he wasn't the same. A few injuries as well. He kind of finished his Ipswich career a bit of on a low. He was sold to Swansea in 2021 only for £1.5 million. He made 39 appearances for them, and the Swansea fans, from what I understand, are absolutely gutted that he's left them. He's had an England appearances as well, under 19 and under 20, 11 appearances so far. So I think he's an exciting player. I think he's a player that's is going to bring something different to West Ham United. And we know that Declan is not going to stay with West Ham forever. And we need a replacement. We need a long-term replacement. And what better player or type of player than him? Look, I did a short video about his strengths and all that with a few video clips. Before it goes down, I'm sure they'll YouTube catch up with me sooner or later. Do make a note of that link and go and watch it if you haven't done so already, to show a little bit of background about this young lad. Very, very decent footballer, and we should be absolutely delighted to have him. Right, what else have we got? Well, apparently Manuel Lanzini is leaving, isn't he? Well, no, he's not. Apparently, Besiktas oh no, it's not Besiktas, it's Fenerbahce, is it? It's a Turkish club anyway. Apparently, want to sign him for £10 million, and from what I've been told, he's not going anywhere. And there was all this talk about him, finishing his career at River Plate and so on. He's not going there either. In fact, what's happening is we've got a 2-year option. The club have got a 2-year option to extend this contract, which is due to end next season, at the end of next season, sorry. And it looks as if West Ham United are going to get the player, in West Ham are going to come to an agreement to extend this contract. So don't worry about him going away to Turkey or anything like that. Even though he's got his bags with him there, he's not going anywhere. But one player which is a bit odd is a Diop. Now, we've been led to believe that Issa Diop is off to Fulham. He's going to join, and apparently we're just trying to agree a price for him. But then Issa Diop played in the friendly against Servette the other day. Now, in my mind, and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're about to sell a player, the last thing you do is put them out to play football. You sort of you look after them, you wrap them up in cotton wool, and you make sure that they don't pick up any injuries before the deal's done. Look, it may still happen. A lot of people are saying no, he's surplus to requirements. That he won't be going anywhere. Sorry, he's surplus to requirements, and he won't be staying at West Ham United. A 17 million pound offer has apparently been put in, but West Ham want closer to 20. As I said last week, and as I said a few times before, I'd rather he didn't go. I think we need to look long term and think about Ogbonna, as people have just mentioned, and about Craig Dawson, both on the wrong side of 30. Ogbonna's 34 now, Craig Dawson's 32, 30, coming up to 33. They're both in their last year of their contracts. We're going to need, at the end of this season, we're going to need to replace two centre backs. Why not keep him? Why not keep Issa Diop? Why not keep a Gerd? There's Zuma there as well. I like Issa Diop, to be quite honest with you. I think he gets a bit of a hard time from West Ham fans in general. Like I said earlier in the show, when he came on a couple of times, I think the first one or two games when he stood in for Zuma, he was a bit rusty. Of course you're going to be, but he settled into the games, and I think he did exceptionally well. And let's not forget, as someone pointed out in the show last week, last Monday, every time Diop comes on, he ends up playing on the left side of our central defence when he's a right-footed footballer. So harsh on him, I think. Now I've also got the notion that David Moyes likely to be going for three at the back in some games next season, like he tried to do, but this time with proper wing backs. Some of the fullbacks that we're being linked to are kind of wing backish type fullbacks on the left side of the pitch. And I got a feeling that if Moyes does adopt a three at the back setup, then we might see more of the likes of Diop alongside Zuma and Agerd or Ogbonna or Dawson or whoever the choice is. And if you do play three at the back, you're going to want five central defenders to be able to mix it up as well. So, let's see. I'd rather he didn't go. Probably by the end of the show, we'd have heard that he's been sold. But I wish he'd stay. And of course, the long-standing, we all thought, how long ago? 6 months ago, something like that Lucas Fabianski has signed an extended contract. Finally, he did. Finally, he's made a commitment. He signed an extended contract for a year with an option of a further year, which means that he will be able to stay at the club until 39. Look, we love him. He's done great. He's been fantastic. 137 appearances for West Ham last season. 137 appearances for West Ham, keeping 34 clean sheets and all that time. He's been a bargain for £7.2 million, hasn't he? Without a shadow of a doubt. Do I want him to still be goalkeeping at 39? No. Do I want him to still be the first choice goalkeeper next season? No. I want Areola to be. But let's see what happens. I think what Moyes will end up doing is he'll probably say, I know it sounds crazy. And I said it the other week and I laughed at the same time. Moyes will ease Areola in to be our number one this season. So Fabianski will probably start a few games, and then you'll see a bit more of Areola. And then when the Europa conference starts, you probably see Fabianski playing in the conference, and you'll see Areola becoming the first team goalkeeper in the squad. So that's it for player news. There's not a lot there, but we do have some interesting news on some of the youngsters. Did I load the youngsters video? No, I didn't. So I'm going to have to just go in and talk about the youngsters. First up, when I can get the right. There we go. Right, the youngsters, the academy squad, they're back in. They had their first preseason game as well. They played a Sporting Lisbon youth team. I think the score was 2-1 because I wasn't really watching it. And it was, another run out for the youngsters. And it's good that they've started their preseason as well. But as a lot of people have alluded to, a lot of these youngsters are under 21. There's quite a few under 23s with the senior squad, but a lot of the youngsters there are under 21. And if you're really interested and you want to go and support them, the Papa John's Trophy fixtures have been confirmed. As I said a few weeks ago, West Ham play all their games away. So they got Walsall at the Bank Stadium on the 30th of August. Then they got MK Dons on the 4th of October. Then Cheltenham Town at Johnny Rock Stadium. What a name. Johnny Rock Stadium on the 18th of October. So do go out and support them if you're anywhere near there. And just one more youngster to talk about, Archie Woods. Archie Woods, turned 18 years. The 18-year-old academy player signed his first professional contract with the club this week. He's a lifelong West Ham fan. I mean, got them coming out of the woodwork. He captained both the under-15s and the under-16 teams, and he's progressed to the under-18s teams, making 46 appearances. And he started to make an impact on the under-23 squad last season as well. A combative midfield player, great communicator on the pitch, loves to get stuck in. We wish him well, and well done on signing your contract. And when it comes to the academy players, um, people have talked about, I wouldn't mind having a few academy players maybe in the squad, competing, etc., etc. Now, I've got a feeling, and maybe one or two of you also have, is that we will probably see a few academy players going out on loan. And people have suggested if they do go out on loan, put them at a club, in a league where they're really going to properly compete. People are speculating that Harrison Ashby is going to make the first team as the third backup to on the right side of defence next season. People are talking about Longello maybe making an impact, and if we don't sign a left back, maybe Longello might be that player. There's Connor Coventry. Look, he's in his last season of his contract. It's going to be a tricky one for Coventry. I fear for him. Josh Cullen, we heard, is on his way back to English football. I think going to Burnley. And I fear for Coventry whether he's going to make it this season, because if he does get sent out on loan again, and it is the last season of his contract, one might say that might be it for him. I hope not. Women's team. The women's team are back in action as well. They're back in preseason training, and they've been going through they'll be having a few fixtures coming up as well. Now, players who have left the club. I'm getting a bit worried about the women's team because there's quite a lot of the women's team that are leaving. I talked about Adriana Leone. She went to Man United last week. Now Katarina Svitkova has signed for Chelsea. She's been a lifelong Chelsea fan apparently as well. Good luck to you. And today, free agent Jill Flaherty has moved to and signed for Liverpool. She was freed at the end of her contract at the end of last season. But we do have someone that has come in, and that's Edu Rubio, who's joined the West Ham team as assistant coach. Prior to joining Paul Konchesky's backroom team, Rubio was coach at the women's team at Crystal Palace. Before that, he spent a couple of years at MK Dons as a senior professional development coach. He oversaw the under-18s and under-23s at his time there in the men's academy. He won under-23 league and cup with them. He's done a few things. He's also coached at Chelsea, Valencia, Nike Academy, and the Football Association. Welcome to you, Edu. Nice of you to join us. Right, let's go into the chat before I go into the last part of the show, which of course is transfers. Right, we did that one. We did that one. We did that one as well. Let's go to, there we go, Sharky. Most of the Europa Conference League games last season were played at 5:45 on a Thursday. 5:45. So we could play Saturday night football, couldn't we? If we really wanted to. Trini, the problem playing on the wing in Moyes' system is you have to run back, and Antonio's hammies cannot take that. Very, very good point. Hence Moyes converting him into a central striker. It was a bit of a masterstroke, wasn't it? When it works, it's just that he had a very, very bad patch, didn't he? Daniela, we did have our best goal scoring record last season. We did indeed. I mean, as a lot of people have been saying, you don't rely on just one player to score all your goals. It's shared out. And one of the good things that David Moyes has certainly brought to the club since he came back for the second time is the number of times, that number of players that have scored goals. We've had goals being scored from all parts of the pitch, especially our midfielders, our wide midfielders, etc. And long may that reign. We do cry out for a striker, but I think more because in order to give us options, I think the goal scoring will still be shared out next season. Devo70, good evening to you. We need a fox in the box. Yeah, good point. Henry, is Broja a fox in the box? I'm bored of Antonio as our striker. The man can't shoot. Henry, well, that's a bit unfair. It's a bit unfair. There's been times when he scored, as we all know, he scored sublime goals. There's been other times where a tap-in would have done instead of going into row Z. Victor, to finish 6th or 7th without a striker is not bad. Absolutely not bad at all. Not bad at all. Troj thought Downes looked good on the preseason clips. He did. And if you go back to that link I gave you earlier, there's a few clips there that I've added in for you. Um, it looks like it needs to eat a sandwich. He's skinny, lucky bastard. Kevin, how are you, mate? I still hope you're well. I would let Vlasic and Diop go. I Vlasic maybe on loan. I didn't talk about him because there's no updates apparently. But Vlasic apparently, let me give you a quick update. Torino were interested, but that's gone quiet. You know, West Ham United are looking to either sell him for around 15 mil, or they're happy to let him go out on loan. One or the other. Apparently, if we get 20 million for Diop, he'll go. Apparently, if we get 20 million for Benrahma, he'll go. Apparently, if we get 30 million or more for Soucek, he'll go. But we can't have them all leaving, can we? You know, I asked the question much earlier on. Would you be happy if we kept them? I'd be happy if we kept a few of them, to be quite honest with you. Daniel, with Downs, we now have the option of playing 4-3-3, allowing Soucek to put forward. What a good point. Yeah, very good point. Learn to dig. Sure, Perkins, the minute I knew West Ham was in for me, I would go anywhere else. That's unfair. Tony, apparently the reason why Perkins, one of the reasons we've been told as to why Perkins has left is because he didn't feel he was going to get enough game time. You know, the story goes that he looked at what happened last season, you know, and with injuries that we had, etc., he thought he wasn't going to get as much game time as he thought maybe he deserved. I'm not sure he deserved it, but there you go. And that's why he left. Apparently, he's going to Leeds or whatever because he believes he'll get more game time. Good luck with that. Tony Hammer. We took him on trial a few years ago from Ipswich, so must have been keeping an eye on. That I didn't know, Tony. Thank you for that. I wasn't aware that we had done that. Trodge models himself on Idol Song, who he watched at West Ham. I mean, you know, not Ringabert, I hope. But if he did model himself on Alex Song, good model to model yourself, good player to model yourself on. Absolutely. Daniela. Daniel, good. Maybe that's the plan for Sojek. You know, play options, isn't it? Options. You know, we're talking about, even I've said it a few times, that, you know, Downs has come in order to, you know, be a backup for Soucek and Declan. Why not put all three on the pitch at times and do that solid 4-3-3, allowing the front players to go further forward, etc. Yeah, good point. Huge. 92% passes, sideways or backwards, doesn't matter. 92% successful passes. That's all you need to know. Don't put a downer on Downs. Sharky. Need to sell Lanzini. Happy Hammerette isn't here, so I'm not afraid to say it. I'll tell her though, and I'll get her to look out for you. Lanzini, there's none better to prep Downs for the EPL. Good point. You know, that's actually a really good point. You know, having players like him, you know, Downs can learn from him. You know, he can learn from Lanzini to become a bit more of an attacking. I mean, he's a defensive-minded midfielder, but that's a really good point about having someone like him learning from him. Yeah, Peter, wrapping a player in cotton wool would be against human rights, would it? Oh, I didn't know that. Schmiegel, Diop hasn't been good in a long time, in my opinion. See, we see things. This is what I like about this show is that you all have your opinions, and we all see players and situations in very different ways. I think he's been okay. I think he's had bad games without a shadow of a doubt, but I think we've had other players who've had bad games and probably don't get as much stick as maybe someone like Diop. I think it's exposure, isn't it? Look, I remember the season before last uh, when we had our defenders bringing players down, etc., and not being, you know, not being called out for it. Dawson got sent off the season before last twice in crucial games, and I don't know. I feel sorry for Diop. I think there's a decent player there. Sharky, you can only pass the ball three ways, and then you laughed, and I don't get it. Oh no, I think I do get it. Peacads, I keep Diop, but if he has to go to Fulham, it would be cool to bring Andy Robinson. What's his first name? Aaron Robinson as a backup for Cressy. Well, apparently David Moyes a couple of seasons ago looked at Robinson and did not think much of him. Didn't sort of bid for him when he was available. Daniel should definitely have a buy backup for Diop. Should definitely have a buyback for Diop, or at the very least a big sell-on fee. Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. Tony, King Arthur. Apparently, there's no interest in Arthur from anyone, not even Fulham. No one, no one. There's no one that wants to take him. I don't understand why. He's just like, he's God's gift to the left side of midfield or left side of defence. I'm surprised there's not a queue of teams lining up to buy him. Trudge. Ogbonna will be starting, I reckon, first game anyway. If he's fit enough, maybe. Robert, we're still being linked with centre backs. We are, and I take no notice of them whatsoever, unless they can play on the left side as a left back. Diop wasn't in any of the training videos. Um, was he not? I thought I saw photos of him, to be honest with you. Um, I'm pretty certain I saw photos of him. Pretty certain. I'm going to go and have a look after the show. Diop should stay, Trini. We only are going to have to buy 2 Premier League standard centre backs next season. Diop does his job when he plays and is still learning. I'm 100% with you. Yeah, I totally agree. I think he should stay for that matter, if not no other reason. Andrew, Pat Jennings was still playing at 40. Yeah, football was very different back then. But yeah, good point. Very, very good point. Pat Jennings was still playing football at the age of 40. Do you think Fabianski can still do it? I don't know. I don't know. Tony, King Arthur would be great at 3 at the back. No. Trodge. Fabianski looking good. Last preseason, he was carrying an injury. Good shout. Chris, you're back. Did you brush your teeth? I don't understand why we'd need to bet Areola in. Kind of saying it in a sort of a jokey, facetious way, because it's the kind of thing that Moyes will say. Got to just give him time. He's a superior keeper, knows the league. No time for sentimentality. I agree with you, but I just bet you Moyes is going to ease Areola in. Learn to dig. If no fees for Benny or Vlasic come in, then 20 mil for Diop is hard to turn down. If we need the money, and this is the speculation, how many more players are we buying? How much more money do we need? There was a comment earlier on in the show that we've got about 100 mil and we've already spent 50 of that. And if we do need another 3 or 4 players to come through the door, then yes, we will start looking at needing to sell players. But there's also the story that Kretinsky is going to top up the 100 mil, and there is talk about us having up to 150 million pounds to spend. So I don't know. Peter, Papa don't preach. Very funny. I'm in trouble. You've started early. Learn to dig. 20 million for Diop is hard to turn down. Yep, said that one already. What else we got here? Come on, people. Oh yeah, thank you, Peter, for reminding me. Look, if you're new to the show, please hit the like button. If you're new to the show, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. I don't know how many likes I've got, but thank you for the likes, etc. But also hit that subscribe button. That would be fantastic. Andrew, I like Diop, struggles with his consistency, but still believe he can get to the levels he showed when he first arrived. Good point. Ogbonna was also inconsistent, but look at him now. Very, very good point. I like Diop as well. Aaron, apparently we get some money for Cullen. We had a sell-on clause, apparently, but I don't know. I've not looked into it deep enough. I did read the story, but I don't know what the sell-on clause will be. Good evening to you, Mr. Khan. No one watches women football. Well, you try telling all the thousands that are watching England playing at the moment. Usually I have at least another 20 people on here to watch my show, but they must be watching the England game. Chris, I was going to break out the building site lyric. Papa don't and back. Lads, I don't know what you're going on about. You carry on singing to each other. Chris, my ex-missus used to hate walking around the supermarkets with me. What? You bang on, Trodge. So we had a sell-on clause and buyback clause. It seems unusual for us. It would be very unusual, and it won't surprise me if we find out we had no sell-on clause at all. Daniel Simpkins. I think I'm the only one not keen on Broja. Overrated and overpriced. He's got no touch or instinct to get into the box to score tap-ins like Antonio ain't, which we need. Interesting point. Interesting point. Perkins has definitely gone to Leeds from the ITK, Mr. Nigel Khan himself. Good evening to you, Kimbo. Thank you for joining. Howard Vinay. Stel said Broja has agreed terms. Vinay Stel. Yeah, well, that's what I've been told. But of course, I may have been lied to. But apparently he's agreed terms with West Ham and the agent, but not with the club yet. Chelsea have yet to agree a fee for him. Trodge, when Perkins had his chance, it was obvious he was too lightweight. I agree. Peter, Need to practice long throw-ins again. Why? I hate that. Sharky, Sean Whetstone has told Sel Broja has agreed terms with West Ham. Did he? Daniel, 30 mil for a player that scored a few goals less than a non-starter, Ben Rama. That ain't a striker. Good point. Henry. Gibraltar team named Europa, who currently are in the Conference League qualification, lost to League One side Plymouth 15-1 in a pre-season friendly. Conference League looking exciting. Fucking hell. Chris, 15-1. If you think it's warm tonight, still, you should feel what it's like on the 60 mile Zormov morphine I have to take for a hip. 60 milligrams Zormov morphine I have to take for a hip problem. It's like being in an oven. You can't get out of it, mate. Wow. Mate, sorry to hear that. Have you got any spare? Bob, sometimes. I think Areola is a bit... Schmiegel, oh, I agree. I think there's definitely worse in the team than Diop. At least Diop has always been professional. I like him, but probably Nigel's going to tell us in a minute that we've sold Diop as well. Vinay, sideways passes help keep possession, can be strategically the right thing sometimes. Good point, Vinay. I hope you're well, mate. Yeah, the chat has jumped. Let's scroll down. Daniela, if Mount leaves Chelsea, he could be with the players signing. Would Rice go there next time? If Mount leaves Chelsea, why? Is there talk about Mount leaving Chelsea? Get him to West Ham. Go and buy him. Chris, yeah, football was very different then still. They weren't a bunch of overpaid, self-entitled back then and smoke and drank heroes. That is true. That is true. Good evening, Rhonda and Tony. Good evening, Tony. Still, how many of our players will be at the World Cup? In the England team, you mean, or just generally? Well, the Czech Republic haven't made it. Morocco's made it, so we're going to have a Gerd there. We're going to have 2 or 3 West Ham players with England team there. I don't know, could be 4 or 5 players. Has Vlasic made it with Croatia? I think they have. Peacads, I read that Yarmo will get the same deal Fab got when he can't find a replacement. I wrote it and then I read it. By the way, I read that Yarmolenko will get the same deal Fab got when they can't find a replacement. Oh, you reckon he's coming back? No. Gone, done. Farewell, Yarmo. I think we get about 500k for Cullen. I think it was 20%. He's going for about 3 million euros. I heard that. Oh, good. Trodge, Broja's on like 6.5 grand a week. No wonder we manage terms. Well, true, Trodge. Ian, too bad about Keane Lewis Potter. Get Broja, Onana, and I dare say Lingard and use a handful of senior academy players. Has Lewis Potter gone yet? My understanding is that he was due to sign for Brentford, but that fell through, unless I'm mistaken. Damien, we definitely need the top up. Have you seen the business top? Yeah, and I'm jealous. I won't lie. I'm jealous. Absolutely. Epic, did you hear Lewis Potter chose? Well, I talked about that earlier. Apparently, my understanding is the reason why he chose Brentford is because if he had these conversations with David Moyes, that he wanted guarantee of first team football, and Moyes said, no, I can't guarantee that. And then he decided to go to a team that can offer that. I don't know anyone that can offer you first team football, to be quite honest with you. What if you're playing shit? And what, you still insist on first team football? I don't know how that works, to be quite honest with you. But there you go. But apparently that deal's not happened yet with Brentford. Peter, we will get the Sheep Herders United in the conference draw. God, where away ticket allocation will be a grand total of 5, and you've got to stand in sheep dip as well. Chris, still, to be fair, still, they're great until you need them. Then it's not so good. 6 years until I get my hit done. Oh, mate, I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. Lee, good evening to you. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Lee. I really appreciate you saying that. Much appreciated. Yeah, he's agreed term, but I thought it fell through. Unless something's happened today, I thought that fell through. Aaron, come last week of the window and Lingard signs. Will you be happy or pissed he's only come because no one else wants him? I'd be a bit pissed, really, but still happy to have him, if that makes sense. I want that done and dusted, to be quite honest with you. And on that, let's go into the final part of the show. So, the last part of the show, and I've only done an hour, but let's get into it. Look, Broja, let's start with him. We've started talking about him already anyway. So many twists in since last week's show, in fact, about this player. Last Monday, I said that we needed to give Broja and Lingard a deadline before we move on to other targets, and it looks like there's been some movement with Broja already. During the week, I talked about a twist in the story where Broja was having a meeting with Todd Bowley about his future at the club. And then there was a suggestion that Thomas Tuchel was not going to might not be taking Broja on the preseason tour of the US, and so it's happened. He's not with the and he's not gone out to the US. There's all this talk about that maybe he'll be joining them later. But why not take him in the first place? It's quite interesting. There've been other players who have been out on loan. There are other players, youngsters, etc., who are out on that tour, and players who've hardly played. Barkley, for example, they're all on that tour. Broja, there's a good reason for it, isn't there? And that must only mean because he's going to be sold without a shadow of a doubt. Now, is he coming to West Ham? As I said earlier, from what I've been told, that terms have been agreed with the player and West Ham United and with the agent, the player's agent, etc. But the only thing that's left to outstanding is the fee. Now, look, Chelsea are valuing him at 30. I've even heard up to 60 million pounds. What a load of guff. Look, it looks like we've put in another bid of around 25 million pounds, probably with add-ons. Is he worth it? He's still young, 20 years of age. He's still learning his trade. Can he get better? It's a gamble. It's a gamble, but it's a player that probably is going to be one of the few players that will. I'm even going to say it. Whilst it's even in my mind, I'm not thinking it's going to happen. But I was going to say he might be one of those players where he'll share the responsibility with Antonio up front and maybe sit on the bench every now and again, or maybe not. I don't know. But there's so many other twists. So there was a twist about him having a meeting with Todd Bowley about his future. There was a twist about whether he was going to go on the US tour or not, and we found out that he's not. Then there was a twist about where he was going to be offered in a swap deal for Napoli forward Victor Osimhen. Him going to Napoli and Osimhen coming to Chelsea. And in this latest bit of news, it's now reported that we've got 3 clubs who are interested, 3 Premier League clubs, Everton, Newcastle, and ourselves. And it's reported that Broja prefers to stay in London or down south, which must negate Everton and Newcastle links. Look, are we going to sign him? I don't know. I think it's close. I think the fact that he hasn't gone out on the tour with Chelsea at the US must be a heavy indication that Thomas Tuchel is thinking that this player is not in his thinking for next season. They've lost Lukaku. He's gone back to Inter. They don't have that many striking options, and for that reason alone, not to have taken him on out on the tour seems a little bit strange. And that must only mean one thing: that he's going somewhere else. Do I think he's coming to West Ham? I think there's a very high probability, and I think if it is going to happen, we're going to hear about it later on this week. It may be not so far late on this week. And a backup is, of course, Brereton Diaz. Apparently, if we do not agree terms, or if we don't agree a fee with Chelsea, then we're going to go back in and look at Brereton Diaz. Now, I was quite dismissive of the Brereton Diaz link a few weeks ago, but a whole load of other things have come up. Wasserman. We're going to hear an awful lot about the Wasserman agency over the next few weeks. We heard about it when David Moyes got his scouting system got his scouting network in place. David Moyes Jr. used to work for Wasserman, and we also believe that Mark Warburton is under the Wasserman. Oh, he's got his daughter who works for Wasserman as well, and this young player, Brereton Diaz, is on the Wasserman books. Look, Brereton Diaz. I kind of looked at his stats again. I thought, look, I'm going to have to do some proper research about him, because if the links keep coming up and he's going to be the alternative to I've forgotten his name. There you go, the Broja deal. If he's going to be the alternative, I need to look at his stats properly. They're not great. I won't lie to you. They're not great. He had a very good season last season. 39 goals, 39 games, 22 goals, 3 assists. The season before that, he was under the shadow of Adam Armstrong, who moved to Southampton and didn't really do much at Southampton last season. But Armstrong was smashing them in for Blackburn the season before last. 184 senior career appearances so far, 40 goals, 19 assists. Half of his goals came last season. Okay, look, you could argue he's still a young player, 23 years of age. He's the sort of player that David Moyes might like. Versatile player who can play as a striker, who can cut in from the left side of midfield. Great ball carrying skills. Similar player, people say, to Bowen on the right side of our attack. Decent speed, shields the ball well. He was second to Mitrovic in goal scoring records, I believe, in the Championship last season. Yeah, he's decent, and he's been noted now. He's become a Chile international through his mother's side. 14 appearances, 4 goals for them. I wouldn't mind having him. Let's be honest. If he became available, would I prefer him to Broja? Do you know? Ironically, even though I do think at the moment he's a one-season wonder, having scored so many goals last season and not doing so well at Nottingham Forest, his previous club, and here at Blackburn before last season. Yeah, I would. And the reason why I would is because of his versatility. I think he will suit our style of play probably a lot more than Broja. Now, Broja is a striker. Brereton Diaz is an attacking winger, stroke striker. So why would I prefer an attacking winger to a striker? Because of David Moyes' style of play. I really do. I think he will be the sort of person that can fill in. You know, you can see a game if the game's going in a particular way. Antonio comes off or goes to the left, Brereton Diaz up front, or you put Bowen on up front. You can put Brereton Diaz, who he's also played out on the right side. He fits the mold a lot more than Broja does. Yeah, there you go. Right. Amadou Onana, the next player that we believe that we are serious about. Now, if the reports are true, we put in a £20 million bid for Onana. It was not back. We put in another £25 million bid for Onana only the other day, and that's been knocked back as well. I think we're going back in for him again. I think there's a lot of interest in him. He's Lille valuing him at 50 million. Of course they're going to be. It's like us valuing Declan at 150 million. We don't want anyone to buy him. Lille don't want to buy him. They, he's only been with the club, I think, a couple of seasons. Decent stats, in terms of pass success rate, ground duel rate, etc. You know, he's got a decent, well, more than a decent defensive midfielder. I talked a few weeks ago about him coming through the youth ranks at Hoffenheim. He dropped a league in order to get game experience, despite the fact that there were bigger teams going for him. He moved to the French league. He's built up his career, and people are after him. People are noting him and are after him, and he's a very, very good player. And it looks like we are pushing out all the guns for Broja at the moment, Broja and Onana. Now, it will take our spend, if we get both of these players, let's say for give or take 30 million each, including add-ons and so on. With the 52 million we spent already, that will take our spend to over 100 million pounds. That's not bad, but there's still players to go as well. But would we stop? I don't know. Well, would there be? That means we would have signed a keeper. We would have signed a centre back. We'd have signed a midfielder, signed or two midfielders, should I say, and signed an attacking player. We still need a left back, though, don't we? I like Onana. I like every time I sort of read up about him. I like the details about him. I like his style of play, and it would be a great capture for us. Another young player, 20 years of age, and someone who could probably adapt to the Premier League pretty rapidly. Next up, if we don't get Onana, this is apparently our backup. Now, I've heard all this stuff that about 3 years ago we were in for him, but it didn't happen, etc., etc. I've read all that, but it's interesting that we're back looking at this guy. But I don't believe we're anywhere near buying him, and I'll tell you for why. Because of his attitude. Now, if we believe everything we've read about all these other bids where David Moyes has said, I don't want this player because of the player's attitude, then Santiago Escasibar is the persona of the type of player that David Moyes won't touch with a barge pole. He's interesting. He's 5'6". He's even shorter than me. 5'6". I call him a pocket rocket because he is a fiery holding midfielder, very aggressive, really competitive. And I've written here, if you look at his style of play, he's got the hint of a Roy Keane about him. But when he was in one team, I can't remember which team it was. I've got it written down. I think it was it might have been the team before Hertha Berlin, whatever that team was. I can't remember. I haven't written it down properly. But apparently, I know it was with. Anyway, he had an altercation with a manager at one of his previous clubs because he turned around and said, "You should make me your first choice defensive midfielder. I should be playing every game." He got sold. I think it was with Estudiantes when he was in Argentina. So he's had altercations there. He's had a couple of seasons now at Hertha Berlin, and apparently he's turned around in an interview and gone, "I want to leave. I want a change of environment. I don't want to be here anymore." It's like, fucking hell, mate. All right. David Moyes ain't going to like you if you come to the Premier League and you behave in that way. This is why I don't think that the story's got any mileage in it. He's still got 2 years left on his contract. I mean, look, I won't lie. He's a very, very decent footballer, but he's a bit hot-headed. He will be that sort of player where you could just imagine with our sort of Premier League referees will be the sort of player that'll be sent off every other game. I don't know. I think he's good, but I think his hot-headedness is the sort of thing that maybe David Moyes will not want to bother with. Let's jump through a few others because I don't think there's much mileage in this one either. Justin Kluivert, another versatile attacking player cuts in from the left, etc., etc. Look, I'm reading his stats and I'm just saying to myself, why? I'm not so sure why, because he's spent 11 years in at Ajax youth ranks. He made 56 senior appearances for them. He got apparently the story goes that Roma legend Francesco Totti called his father Patrick Kluivert and said, "We'd like to buy your son." And before you knew it, he went on a 5-year deal for £15 million to Roma. He hasn't had a successful time there. He got sent out on loan to a couple of clubs. Last one being Red Bull Leipzig. Oh no, sorry, he went to Red Bull Leipzig, and he also went to Club Nice in his last loan spell. He hasn't been great shakes at any of them. He's all right. He's a tidy footballer, decent pass success rate, but there's nothing about this player that excites me. And when you look at bringing in better than what you've got, when I look at him compared to Benrahma, then he's not better than what we've got, to be quite honest with you. So these are the kind of stories I'm beginning to be a bit more dismissive of. Next up, apparently, Emmanuel Dennis and Ismail Assar, they've been left out of the Austria pre-season tour for Watford because teams are in for them. From what we understand, the Emmanuel Dennis rumours have kind of gone a bit cold, but Ismail Assar could be a player that David Moyes is still interested in. So watch out for that one, but no more sort of updates apart from the fact that they've been left out of their pre-season tour of Austria. Next up, Jesse Lingard. I mean, apparently now he's over in America talking to David Beckham's team into Miami about an option there to go and play his football. I don't get it. I don't understand all these different stories about Jesse Lingard, to be quite honest with you. Because one minute we're hearing that he wants to stay close to his home, close to his family up north. Next minute we're hearing that he's coming down to London to West Ham United. Next minute we're hearing that he might be going abroad, playing. I mean, America. I mean, how much further away do you want to get from the north of England? It's odd. And I just don't know anymore what to believe. And I think, like a lot of fans have said, I think we'd rather just see an end to this. Either Lingard turns around and says yes or no to West Ham United. And as I was asked a question earlier on, would I be happy if he came in at the last moment? In a way, I probably wouldn't be thinking about it. 29 years of age, there's a lot of players out there that could be just as good, if not better than Lingard, who are much younger, who, all right, they'll cost us 15, 20, 25 million pounds, but players that maybe could be more versatile, better, improved, etc., and become valuable to us as a selling, if we want to move a player on, say we buy, I don't know, let's say we buy Brereton Diaz, let's say we're buying Keane Lewis Potter, at their ages, 2 or 3 years with West Ham, if they improve, we can sell them for a massive fee. What are we going to get with Lingard? I kind of like. I think I've had enough of it. I think everyone else has as well. Um, but here's an interesting story that came up the other day. Do you remember him, Daichi Kamada? Now I thought, wow, he's in his last year of his contract at Eintracht Frankfurt. You know what he did to us. He broke our hearts, didn't he? He was an excellent player in the semi-finals against us. An absolutely fantastic footballer, and one of the players that I think a lot of us, when we went to watch the games, both home and away, turned around and said he's decent. He's a decent footballer, and if he really is available, I would bite your hand off to buy him for around about £20 million. To be honest with you, he's better in an attacking midfield role in the sort of as a second striker, but he's versatile. He can play. He's better in the middle of the park than he is out wide. But he can play as a box-to-box midfielder. He drops deep to pick the ball up to start attacking moves. He's clever, intelligent footballer. Look at the runs he did against us. You know, where he scored the goal against us, where he kind of like almost ghosted in. Someone said earlier, we need a fox in the box. This is the sort of player that can ghost into positions, in dangerous positions and score. I think he's fantastic. I really do. If there's anyone that I wouldn't mind having, then let's go out for him. Look, he started his career. He played for a number of youth teams in Japan, and it was while he was playing for Higashiyama High School where he got picked up by Sagan Tosu at the age of 19, and he was yeah Tosu. He was and he made his debut in the J League at the age of 19 in 2015. Impressive loan spell. He became permanent signing for them, and then he was picked up in 2017 by Eintracht Frankfurt for a deal of £1.75 million. He joined them on a 4-year deal, and then he signed an extended contract until 2023. He's made 132 appearances for the club, 24 goals, 27 assists. I really like him. If there's anyone that we ought to be looking at, and we've got first-hand experience of him, then why not Daichi Kamada? Wouldn't mind him at all. Jump on to another couple. I talked about this one in midweek. Jordan Torunariga, Hertha Berlin left back. Pretty decent player by all accounts. Young, 24 years of age. He's got good stats, etc. And he's a player that I talked about during the week. Decent average stats. One averaging one tackle a game, 2 interceptions a game, good pass success rate, good aerial duel wins, etc. And doesn't pick up a lot of cards. I talked about him in my midweek show, so if you want to know more about him, go and look at that. And then last but not least, another name that came up over the last sort of day or so is this young man, Melvin Bard, left back for OGC Nice, contracted with them until 2025, valued at around £9 to £10 million, 21 years of age. He's a 5'8", solid left back, part of the Nice team that who had the best defensive stats in League One, only matched by PSG last season. They finished 5th in the league. Technically gifted player, very pacey, very disciplined. He hasn't had a lot of games. That he was at. Let me get this right because I've got my notes in here. Where was he at before? He was at Lyon. He developed at Lyon, and he wasn't getting enough game time. And he was looking to sort of break into the team. It wasn't happening, and he moved to Nice for a fee of around €3 million. And at the time, there was interest from Bayern Munich. They offered Lyon a fee for the player, but they turned it down. They refused it. Don't know why. Maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe it was only 1 million or 2. But he went to Nice for a fee of £3 million. Lyon are considered to be, in retrospect, a better team overall, and they're also renowned for their youth system in developing players, etc. But this player wasn't getting the game time he thought he deserved, and he moved. And that's what's good about some players like this. When you move, just like Onana moved to a low league in order to get game time, in order to build up his career. Bard has done much the same thing. Kind of for him to go to Nice over Lyon is a sort of a slight step back. It's like going from West Ham to Spurs, for example. You know what I mean? Look, his stats are decent, very decent. Even though he's 5'8" tall, he's got very decent stats in 37 appearances, averaging 1.8 tackles per game, 1.5 interceptions per game, 1.3 clearances per game, pass success rate 82%. You know, he's quite a decent young lad, and it'd be someone that would be a good heir to perhaps Aaron Creswell. Right, that's my lot. Let's see what you've got to say before we bid goodnight. Aaron, come last week of the window, and oh yeah, that's the one we went on. Oh, and the chat has jumped, so do forgive me. I'll have to scroll back up. Andy, Lewis Potter was medical today. Well, this is what I don't know because Potter News was. I was writing the script, so there you go. So that means we've missed out on him. Vinay, Moyes' crowd treatment has given him a bad reputation with potential signing. Didn't treat him well. I've got to be honest, but I don't know why. I mean, you know, all the speculation. People were speculating if he plays any more games, then we've got an obligation to buy and all that sort of stuff. Daniel, list of inconsistent players of Europe, or what? Do you mean the ones I mentioned already? Chris, such a minor, innocuous motorbike accident. Still, 30 miles. I walked after. Mate, so really sorry, and I hope you do get better soon. Learn to dig. 20 to 22.5 million tops for Broja. Yeah, but Chelsea won't sell for that. And Stevie, Chelsea will take the piss over the fee. They absolutely will. Depends on how desperate we are, and depends on if we want to move to other targets. Who would you prefer, Brereton Diaz or Broja? Still don't get this obsession with Broja, Smeagol. I just think there's better out there. Good point. Daniel, if it ain't selling Barkley, but selling Broja gives us something to go off. 30 million is too much, let alone 60. Imagine what you can get for 60. Yeah, totally agree. What else we got here? Let's scroll down. Ian, Brentford FC have completed. Right, okay, so that is completed. Oh, Fabrizio Romano. Well, let's see him in his shirt first. Daniel, we're only playing 15 games next season or something. What do you mean? I don't understand. Alex, when are you expecting to hear more about Broja? I think we're going to hear more about Broja within the next couple of days, to be really honest with you. I really do. James, sorry, Stel, have signal troubles. I'm sure I've missed this. No problem, mate. Watch it later, but thank you for trying to log on. Much appreciated. Let's scroll down. David M. Did Sterling sign for Chelsea? Apparently he was in, I think he has. Would that help push on the Broja deal? Good point. Very good point. Yeah, good shout. I think he's agreed terms, hasn't he? Daniel, is each player going to play certain parts of the season because the players we're linked with are so Oh, okay, I've got you now. So inconsistent, it's scary. Damien, I'm all in for Diaz, so there's support there for Diaz. Aaron, the Dennis rumours have gone quiet recently. Not heard him linked with anyone. No, very, very quiet. Peter, Dennis has been linked to us, Newcastle, Everton, and others. He has, but I think Aaron is right. That was a few weeks back, and it has also gone quiet. Robert, Eddie Howe's agent is also Wasserman. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, well, they're big. They're a big agency. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, it's been done already, Lerdstick. Damien, I'm in for Onana as well. He's mustard. He looks like a very, very decent player. And Mandy's already singing his song. Tony, I would try to get Gallagher on loan if Chelsea sign another midfielder. Surely we will start to look at loan deals at the end of July. I would agree with you. I'd rather go out and buy the player. I think he's a very, very decent footballer. Trodge, he looks like Kiarte took growth steroids. No, you're talking about Onana. He's tall. He's 6'5". He's 6'5". Trev, good evening to you. Been listening to the dulcet tones while I was out walking. Oh, thank you, mate. Much appreciated. I hope you're enjoying the show. Kane, pretty. Good evening to you. Friends, a huge Blackburn fan, said Diaz goes missing, especially when it's not going for the team. I'd imagine the step up in his consistency, it wouldn't end well. Broja's more proven at this level. Thank you for that, Kane. Much appreciated. You know, I did sort of say, do you think, as a Blackburn fan, do you think he's a one-season wonder? Do you think last season was a bit of an anomaly? Because I looked at his stats when he played at Nottingham Forest. I looked at his earlier stats at Blackburn, and it's only last season he's really come into his own. Do you think that's are you expecting if he stays at Blackburn next season, is he going to give you another season like he's just done or not? It's interesting that you're saying that he goes missing as well. Very good point. Chris, I had chocolate sponge and chocolate custard for dessert. Took me back to my infant school. End of the show, isn't it? Starting to go on off on a tangent. Daniel would be very happy with Broja, Lingard, and Onana. Quality left back, and I would be happy. But it's being claimed we have officially bid for Pellegrini. Yeah, that's all gone quiet. That was on the show last week. I forced myself to have to look into Pellegrini, Luca Pellegrini, because I said when I first looked at him, he was the Italian's answer to King Arthur Massafaku. I'd rather he didn't come to us, Pellegrini. I think there are better left backs out there. Jason, good evening to you. We need another defensive midfielder. If we buy 11 7 feet goalies, we'll only lay. Well, I think the reason why we're looking at Onana is because of the rumor of Souček going. So if we do land Onana, I think we'll find that Souček will be sold. So there you go. England's just brought on Peter Crouch in a week. Tall, I'm guessing. Chris, now give Prisoner of Azkaban a swerve if you've got any sense, Moisey. I really don't think. You know, when we're told that we've been linked to a player 3 years ago and it's taken us 3 years to even start thinking about it, you know it ain't going to bloody well happen, don't you? Azkaban. Peter, nowhere do great shakes anymore as paper straws are rubbish. Guys, don't talk about food, please. Let's go. What did Trodge say that made you laugh? I'm gonna have to scroll back up. Oh yeah, about Peter Crouch in a wig. Daniel, if we sign, oh yeah, we've done that one. Oh, if we sign Broja, Lingard, Onana plus a left back, 9 out of 10. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Lingard is a waste of space. I think we just got to just move on. I really fucking hope Moyes is not waiting for Lingard to make a decision. I really, really do. You know, and then we end up missing out on other players as well. Daniel, apparently, yeah, 600,000 coming in from Cullendale. 3 weeks Lingard wages. Damien, Stell, if he wanted to play for us regardless wages, he would have stayed and haggled it out. True. Adam, I don't think Lingard will do it like last time. Waste of space. No one's in for Lingard. I think it's taken too long, isn't it? So we've gone off the ball on him. Andrew, if Lingard wants to get into the World Cup and move to the US, would be kiboshed. Absolutely correct. Schmeigel, Kamada would be a great signing, in my opinion. I agree. Kamada could be the next Son. I like him. Honestly, if he's got 1 year left and Eintracht Frankfurt are looking to sell him on, fucking bite their hands off. Seriously, bite their hands off. £20 million, 25 years of age, absolutely proven in German football and in European football experience and an international to boot. Fucking bite his hands off. Bite their hand off, should I say? Trini, if Kamada is available, yes, please. It would be awesome. He was awesome against us. He absolutely was. He absolutely was. We saw first class what a very, very decent footballer he was. Yeah, Kamada will be very good in my opinion. Do forgive me, I can't do every single comment, as you know. But I'm going to take a break because I want you to subscribe if you're new. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, hit the bell notification and all that sort of stuff. Please, if you like what you've heard and what you've seen, subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. What else? Vinay. Should get Kamada so long as Moyes doesn't do a crawl on him? I doubt very much he will. He's a proven footballer. No, I wouldn't miss Mike Dean. I don't think any of us will. Trini, sorry. Josh Doig joined Hellas Verona. We should have been monitoring him. Looks decent. Talked about Doig a couple of year and a half or two ago. Maybe when he's done his bit at Hellas Verona, he might have a lot more teams starting to look at him more seriously. Garino. VR reviews will just show pics of Mike Dean as he's so low himself. Garino, Mike Dean doing an Alan Partridge. Do you like what you see? Let's scroll down a bit more. Who we got? Daniela. Chelsea need to move players on if they want the big names they're going after. Good point. Yeah, absolutely. Andy, Onana's in pajamas. He's coming here to play. Full-time England 8, Norway 0. Well done, ladies. Well done indeed. I reckon Nigel Khan. He loves women's football. Absolutely does. Vinay, Onana would be a good crowd chant. Yeah, absolutely. Steve Armstrong went from Blackburn to Southampton after one good season. Exactly. Hasn't pulled up any trees. Good evening, Mr. Joe Cole. We're not selling. Joe Cole of Chelsea, not Joe Cole of West Ham. We're not selling Broja to you. Forget it. Just like you don't want to sell us right. Exactly. You can keep him because we got loads of other players. You don't have to repeat yourself, mate. Several. Put him in timeout. Don't have to repeat yourself 10 times saying the same thing. Are we looking at Cliver? Yeah, but not Patrick. Daniel, can't we just clone Bowen and be done with the left hand side? Absolutely. I've got to the bottom. I've got to the bottom. There you go. When does the window shut? I should know. I think it's the 1st of September. So we've got quite a few games, days to go. People, an hour and 50 minutes. Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate all your comments, etc. Really appreciate the interaction and so on. I'll be coming back with some more shows this week. They won't all be live, so there'll be a few pre-recorded shows. So hit that like button and hit the subscribe button so you know when they're on. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all your comments, etc. Really much appreciated. And I'll see you all very, very soon.